Meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you'll start us with a roll call, please.
Here. Mrs. Frank.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
Mr. Engelke.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bolt.
Here.
Mayor Pachota.
Here. All right, we can stand. So my first speakers are Tim Penderson, then I've got Biet Lehman, and then Chris with a question mark. Phone has a 410 area code. Joan Iacono, Kelly Caldwell, Richard Hutner, Jack Thacker, Steve Ulrey, Peggy Paris, Jean Hewill, Richard Cushing, Ed Martin, Bruce Caldwell, Jimmy Clifford, and then Nancy DeForge, of course, with 2 minutes. So that's my first order of speakers. Sorry, sir, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for taking time to listen to us people here in the community. I live in the Golden Beach area. And we, among many, my wife and I were victims of the hurricanes when Helene, and then of course the second 100-year hurricane hit 2 weeks later with Milton. What has become evident to many in the community, it seems, is the idea that the drainage for the Golden Beach area has been deteriorating over time. And what the hurricanes pointed out to everyone is that this is really a compounding issue. The water needs to flow out as fast as it's coming in. And I've heard also that some on the council are not as open to listening to some people in Golden Beach because I think the phrase pitchforks and hammers and so on were used. I don't have a pitchfork today. I'm just trying to relay to you what it is that we see in the community. We've been here about 10 years now. What's interesting is that the drainage in the area, if you walk through, you can see readily, depending what your background is, that the drainage is an issue. So it's good that the city hired an engineering firm. Hopefully there will be a lot of things presented today, not just a few words about some of the things that maybe are going on, but actually do some things that can be done to mitigate the flooding. And we hope that the council would show leadership in doing this. There is money available. The Regional Planning Commission is aware of this. I'm sure the city is, but one of my points here today too is to encourage the city to actually act, do something about filing the paperwork that you need to file to obtain the money. Mr. Clinch and others here should hopefully be on this so that the paperwork to obtain grant money, Congress passed 1.3 to 1.5 billion that's available for these very situations. So I would think while the city has the money, probably looking at the financials of the city, to be able to cover the costs of doing something in the Golden Beach area, it's good obviously to have grant money available too. Leadership I talked about, Mr. Mayor, I saw that there was a proclamation at the last meeting that you declared Flood Awareness Week. One of the interesting things in there is the whereases that were cited talks about flood mitigation before a flood occurs. That's the classic drainage area for the Golden Beach area, that could be done and should be done before the next hurricanes really hit. There's a chance to do some things there, but there needs to be the motivation and the drive on the council also to do that. Many in the community are just wondering why would the city council not really be on this? Maybe you are, but the perception is, and the perception is a big thing, that the council maybe doesn't have the interest to do it, and I'm here to encourage you to do that, to apply for the money, get moving forward on doing something about the flooding. It is interesting that at one of the last meetings there was a presentation done about the various flood mitigation that the city wants to do, and I believe there were 21 projects on the listing, and not one had the Golden Beach drainage situation on that list. That's another thing, remember perception. The people are thinking, why would Golden Beach not be on the city project list? And so when you look at the various things that the hurricanes really brought to light, think about the idea of what happened right after Helene. And this gets right at drainage. The day after Helene, by noon roughly Eastern time, people in the community were seeing that the outflow was cleared, and it was like pulling the plug on a bathtub. The water just drained out of the area like it was being pulled out of a bathtub. That revealed to a lot of people, at least the perception, that if the outflow had been taken care of, people's homes wouldn't have been flooded. People are reminded every time they walk into their homes, we're one of those, that they lost everything during these two hurricanes. And we would ask again, please do something about it. You have the ability, the money's there, you need the will and the drive and the ambition to do it. Interesting, I just heard last night that someone said that the road to Tallahassee leads through the Golden Beach area. Well, maybe it does, and maybe it goes right through the Flamingo Ditch also. It's a little muddy over there, but that can be cleared up by action by the city council.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next speaker is Biet Lyman. I'll let you pronounce your name, sir.
That's okay.
I tried.
They call me all kinds of names.
No. And then just remember the lights indicating the speaking time are right up there at the front. When it turns green, you can start.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, council members. My name is Beat Lyman, 608 Gardenia Drive. Thank you for letting me speak. I would like to make a few comments. Can you put this on? There we go. Okay. I'd like to make a few comments to the Flamingo Ditch study, which will be presented later by Mr. Piero of Coastal Property Engineering. Under bullet point, existing information. Let's see here, right there. Okay. CPE fails to state that the Flamingo Ditch is just a part of the city's public stormwater drainage infrastructure for this area. That includes underground piping and many smaller open ditches, catch basins, etc. The city is not required to use Flamingo Ditch for drainage, but it is obligated to provide stormwater drainage via some method. The next bullet point, study objectives. Conceptualize and compare options to reduce flooding potential. It should say mitigate and prevent flooding potential. Next bullet point. Let's see, right here. Okay, Flamingo Ditch ownership. It fails to state that the city and formerly the county have utilized the Flamingo Ditch as part of the public stormwater infrastructure for this area since the subdivision was built. So don't come up with this private property stuff all the time. The city is responsible for stormwater drainage of all public streets and has an obligation to maintain these stormwater systems, whether the Flamingo Ditch is technically privately owned or not. It is exactly for that reason that the Flamingo Ditch project is eligible for government grants, as confirmed on February 19th and February 20th by the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council staff, and even offered to assist the city to complete the application at no cost. Why is the city stalling the filing of an application for federal economic recovery and resiliency funds or other funds? It is free money and free assistance. Only preliminary recommendations are needed and just a rough cost estimate. The private property argument is irrelevant. The ditch is used for stormwater drainage of public streets. The city would also be very remiss to not apply for these funds. Not applying could be interpreted as the city foregoing an opportunity to meet its goals under the FEMA community rating system. In the re-engineering project, if that project qualifies for federal grant money, why is the city reluctant to file an application? It is 5 months now that the contract with CPE was signed. That's plenty of time for the city and the consultant to present some solutions. The city owes the Golden Beach community a clear answer today. The next bullet point, potential concepts to improve the system. Elevate, block, pump, discharge, maintain. CPE should, at minimum, elaborate and give some examples of what each of these methods would entail. As we know, simply relying on maintenance by the city is not feasible because the city does not do maintenance on weekends and holidays or even at night when sudden downpours often occur. The residents of Golden Beach and all affected areas will not tolerate further delays or inaction when the stakes are this high. Disappointment is an understatement in terms of progress made with the Flamingo project since last October. It can only hope that the city is not intentionally dragging its feet thinking that we will back off. Not this time.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next is Chris with the 410 area code.
I apologize. I have tried to change that online several times to fix the information.
It's okay.
I don't know why it won't, just comes up on my email.
We got you up here, that's what matters, so.
I'm sorry?
I said we got you up here, that's what matters. Whether it's by your area code or your last name, it doesn't matter.
Roger that.
Can we have him state his name?
Yeah.
His full name, thank you.
Just state your name for the record when you
It's
start speaking.
Chris Durback.
Durbeck, okay. Thank you, Chris. You have the mic for 5 minutes,
Great,
sir.
thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Christopher Durback, and as we conclude the Flood Awareness Week, let's be honest, awareness is not enough. Action is what matters. The people of Golden Beach and other affected areas have waited long enough for the Flamingo Ditch and which still remains to be unrepaired. It's costing all of us dearly. Homes have been lost, rental units, businesses destroyed. Lives have been changed forever, all right? And we still struggle to rebuild. And so today I'm asking you, where have you, the council, been? In the recent catastrophic flooding, what was not just an unfortunate event, it was an avoidable event. If we had proper drainage and infrastructure, many homes would still be standing today, but they aren't. And that's as a direct result of inaction, neglect, and failure to prioritize flood mitigation. The city of Venice has an obligation to protect its residents, yet the leadership we trusted left us wondering, where were you? When the flood storms rose, where were you? In the days that followed after that flooding, I went from home to home helping people clear out their houses, giving them hugs, letting them have a shoulder to cry on. I only saw one member of this entire council in that entire neighborhood, and that was Rachel Frank. I had to call on my military friends, my jiu-jitsu practitioners, local churches, people I don't even know to come and help us. We had local businesses coming down and donating water and food to help us. But yet, I saw none of you there. So, let's bring us to what we're really here to talk about, and that's because we basically are all worried about what we're doing about this drainage issue, right? So the city manager, along with James Clinch and other officials, must start taking responsibility in ensuring that we're getting grant funding, that we're getting the funding we need to fix this issue, all right? We've come here so many times and asked, and yet still seen inaction from anyone in this entire city. I've asked many times, and yet can get no answers. So that brings me to my next point that everybody's already brought up here. 5 months ago, you got Coastal Protection Engineering to come and assist in these solutions. 5 months. What have we been doing for 5 months? We still see no progress, no results, nothing that actually has any substance. We've seen everything that we already knew. I mean, anybody already knew this. So my question is, we pay for these guys to come in here, we do all this work and get nothing out of it. All right, I'm an engineer. I understand how this works. I've worked on very complex problems in my past. And one thing I can tell you is 5 months is more than enough. So My next question is, the City of Venice floodplain management clearly states that you are committed to reducing and eliminating the flood risk to the people and the property, yet no real steps have been taken. Federal funding is available to fix the Golden Beach drainage issue, but yet nothing's applied for, nothing has happened. So because of that, where are we left? Because of that, how are we going to fix this? Who's taking responsibility and accountability for the actions? Who's going to report to the city and tell us what you've done? Because the perception right now is it looks like you sat on your hands. So, because of this, the next storms, and there'll be more storms, all right? We're not gonna forget who came down to help us, who stood by us, okay? And that wasn't any of you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. We are on to Jack Thacker.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members, council staff. My name is Jack Thacker. I'm president of the MacArthur Beach and Racquet Club Condominium Association at 700 Golden Beach Boulevard, representing 100 owners. I'm extremely concerned about the upcoming hurricane season, having suffered serious losses last year to our buildings and our owners' property. And we have dealt with numerous flooding events in the past year since I've lived here, and we've owned here for about 24 years now. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity for us to share our thoughts and experiences. We are not engineering experts, but we are concerned about the sea level rise and the extreme storms that threaten our area, the resiliency and the sustainability of our community. A cursory look at the stormwater maps indicate that too many streets may be emptying into Flamingo Ditch outflow number 5. Just an inch of rain and the streets, ditches, swells are full of water, parking lots are flooded, and the streets become flooded. We are generally tired of Band-Aid solutions that the city has in the past applied, like shoveling out or opening the Flamingo Ditch to the Gulf. You open it in one day, next day it's full again. It's just natural nature, but it's tough to do it continually. So we understand that, but we have to solve that problem. The city needs to make this a priority in their capital improvement budget and stormwater maintenance and management fund budget. These improvements are eligible for city and other public funding because this is for stormwater damage and drainage of public streets, not just purely public property. The city's often indicated this was one of the drawbacks, that it was public property, but it's really the streets that are flooding. We need to correct that. The presentation today by Coastal Protection Engineering fails to state that the Flamingo Ditch is just part of the city's public stormwater drainage infrastructure for this area. Again, it includes extensive underground piping and many smaller open ditches and catch basins throughout the community. The county and city chose to use the Flamingo Ditch years ago, but in my understanding, that's not really required that they use that ditch. Regardless of the decision that was made then, the city has the obligation to provide stormwater drainage for the area. I'm also urging CPE to provide today some preliminary recommendations and cost estimates, not just findings in this update to the council members. We understand, and I understand, that grant funds for flood mitigation, disaster resiliency, and recovery are soon to be announced, and that the public stormwater infrastructure utilizing Flamingo Ditch is eligible for some of these funds. We cannot let this opportunity pass. We have to take advantage of it. In my opinion, the city would be remiss and even foolish not to apply for these funds to at least cover some of the cost of the project. It is my understanding that the city will need some preliminary recommendation and rough cost estimates from CPE to include in the grant application. The city must ask CPE to produce this information without delay. This project needs to be made one of the city's highest priorities. Thank you so very much for your consideration, and thank you for taking on this project, which is vital to the owners' safety and health in the area. Thank you again.
Thank you for your comments, sir. All right, we are on to,
Dear Mayor, City Council, my name is Peggy Paris. I'm president of the Golden Beach Associates. I want to thank you for allowing me to share today on behalf of the board members of Golden Beach and hundreds of its constituents. You proclaimed, Mayor, as City of Venice, and on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of the community on the week of March 3rd through the 9th as Flood Awareness Week at your last council meeting. And I quote, "Whereas the reduction of loss of life and property damage can be achieved when appropriate flood preparedness, control, and mitigation measures are taken before a flood," end quote. Mr. Mayor, we're concerned that the city is not acting fast enough to address the stormwater engineering problems in our community involving the Flamingo Ditch, which both the county and the city have utilized as an outfall instead of underground piping like the rest of the neighborhood. Stormwater flooding for several years prior to the hurricane, and especially since the city removed the large outfall pipe, has caused extensive impacts to homes and life-threatening flooding of roads, trapping people in their homes. Previous project studies by consultants were abandoned because city management and council determined that proposed improvements were too cost prohibitive, like in 2011. We are aware that grant funds for flood mitigation, disaster resiliency, and recovery are soon to be announced, and that the public stormwater infrastructure utilizing Flamingo Ditch has been confirmed as being eligible for some of these funds. On February 19th, members of our board attended a workshop with the Federal Economic Recovery Support Function Team. The facilitators agreed that Flamingo Ditch project is eligible and would be glad to help the city with grant application process. The city would be remiss and foolish not to apply for these funds to cover at least some of the cost of the project. In order to apply for these grants, the city needs at least preliminary recommendations and cost estimates to include in grant applications. So the city must ask Coastal Protection Engineering today to produce this information without delay. The project needs to be made one of the city's highest priorities. We believe CPE would be willing to work at a faster pace if the city person in charge requests it, so that this project can move to the design-build phase immediately. As you know, time is of the essence, and our members are extremely fearful and concerned about the upcoming rainy hurricane season. The flooding caused by this outdated, failed drainage system in our community must be on the top of your to-do list. The existing ditch outfall as it is no longer a feasible method for public stormwater drainage. We are counting on you and council members to get this done so the city can live up to its stated goals of reducing loss of life, property damage by taking mitigation measures before a flood occurs. We ask that a city council member make a motion that the city pursue available funding and that the council adopt that motion. Thank you very much for your time.
thank you for your,
Over here this morning, there was a crane and a claw ripping down a house about 2 doors away from me on Golden Beach. And it was people I know. And they came to the conclusion they had to destroy their house and try and start again. When Peggy and I came back from evacuating the second hurricane, our yard was filled with refuge. We had heavy things. We had refrigerators. There were 2 refrigerators, all kinds of sofas, wooden cabinets, and miscellaneous. It had come down the street because it was there after the first hurricane. And we couldn't get into the house. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I called Mr. Clinch, and he was very helpful. He explained to me that the Rotary was going to be helping, and before long they came, they opened the driveway so we could get our car in and put things at the curb where they were eventually removed. I've lived there 30 years, Peggy and I. I have never seen water on Everglades Drive before. Maybe at the very end, at Golden Beach Boulevard, there was some groundwater flooding at that point. But this came up, and it stopped inside my garage, but not fortunately inside my front door. That's how close it came. And so, down the street from me, almost everyone's house has been ruined. There are people here I spoke with on the way in, other than those that spoke even, that have had to tear out their entire house, throw away all their utilities. So this is, I think, as a former mayor, I would say I can't think of a higher priority than protecting. There were millions of dollars of damage, plus lives disrupted. My friends are moving back to Cincinnati. So thank you very much. I wish you well. I understand the job very, very clearly, but I also know that you can benefit from this and hear the urgency and the feeling that brought you here. You wouldn't be up there if you didn't want to do the right thing. I know that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Bruce Caldwell. Bruce Caldwell.
Thank you, City Council. My name is Bruce Caldwell, 613 Gardenia. We have I wanted to first do a shout out to the Rotary Club. My house was inaccessible. We could not get into our house, and the Rotary Club did that. So thank you very much, Rotary Club. I also want to shout out to FEMA. FEMA on the island was fantastic where we were. They came by multiple times and did a great job. So thank you, FEMA. But what brings me here today is our situation with the drainage. We're beating a dead horse, I know that. But what concerns me is that we had this Southwest Florida regional thing February 19th. And I understand that the council asked staff to do this one-page request, and it didn't happen. And I don't know whether it was the council who dropped the ball, whether it was staff that dropped the ball, but I think that's kind of a little scary because it's a one-page thing. In fact, a resident of Golden Beach did it on our behalf. And you've heard earlier here that they think it's a great idea. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. Why do we not go for this? I don't understand. I hope you can shed some light as to why we would not go for that money. It's unbelievable. So you've heard about the flood management plan that we've all agreed to. Reduce or eliminate flood risk to people and property. So I went through this. I have tens of thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket costs. My neighbors have hundreds of thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket costs. We have insurance, doesn't pay for everything, okay? We understand it. We know that storm surges happen, but you got to get the water out. This is clear. You don't need to be a civil engineer to look at this and say, if you just dig this thing out, the water would flow. I'm sure the CP will have some great ideas about that. I hope to hear that. I understand that City Manager Lovely, you're retiring soon. That's great. It's great going on to the next level. I hope you. Okay. Yes, honestly, thank you very much. We have with City Manager Lovely's retirement, the City Council has a responsibility to choose his replacement. And I would hope that the next City Manager must be someone with a strong commitment to securing funding, implementing solutions, and ensuring that longstanding infrastructure issues, such as the Golden Beach drainage, are addressed without delay. This transition represents an opportunity for the city to refocus on proactive flood prevention and resilience, rather than continuing a pattern of reactive damage control. Let's fix it before it happens again, guys. Our current, as I understand it, there is a search committee that's going. It's great for Ed's replacement. Ed, in 2024, your salary was $340,000. I hope that we do a nationwide search. I hope we can find the best person to do this job. I would ask that someone from Golden Beach be on this committee, the search committee. I think their experience of, hey, have you done flood mitigation? Have you worked in a coastal community? These are questions that I would like to have the search committee ask any potential candidate. It's a good sum of money. It's a great job. Let's get the best candidate we possibly can. So thank you very much for everything, and I'm done.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jimmy Clifford. I'm the Vice President of the Villas of Venice Condo Association. I don't have much more to add. I did have some stuff to speak about, but I'm just going to relay a story. My wife and I have owned since 1986. We've been through the demucking of the ditch and the pipe extended after the beach renourishment. Neither one of those worked. Now the amount of water that's coming into the ditch from up above, it just can't handle it. It's like 30 gallons going into a 5-gallon pail. I believe that the bulk of that water needs to be diverted anywhere but in the ditch. I have nothing else to say. I'm not feeling too hot right now. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments.
All right.
Appreciate you.